ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोन् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, so we start with this very important shloka, that is second canto, sorry, third canto, second chapter, shloka 23. And this shloka is, yesterday we discussed a little bit about this shloka. So this shloka is one of the very attractive shlokas. In fact, when Shukadeva Goswami was born, so when he was in the womb of his mother, that time itself, no, he had a boon from Krishna. So no, Krishna happened to visit Vyasadev's hermitage, and then this baby in the womb, so actually prayed to Lord Krishna that I don't want to come out of this world, no, and see this material universe at all. So he was liberated even in the womb of the mother. So Shukadeva Goswami is a great personality. And then he didn't want to come out only. So then Krishna assured, like, no, don't worry, you come out, Maya will not touch you. So then, no, such great personality is Sukadeva Goswami. And he was in the womb of his mother for more than 10 years or something like that. It's huge time when he was there and he didn't want to come out. So then, after he came out, no, he was what is that? Within a short while, like he just left home in a very young age itself. So he left home, and then he was then Vyasadeva is the father of Shukadeva Goswami. So Vyasadeva was very much aggrieved, and then he kind of sent his uh, disciples, out and in search of his son. And so Vyasadeva was aggrieved because there is no samskaras, there is no upanayana, nothing was done to him. And then no, he just left home, and no, Vyasadeva was feeling very bad, and he didn't even took proper education and things like that. So he just left home. So Vyasadeva was feeling very bad. And then, no, he was no, Vyasadeva kind of sent the disciples out to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, no, and they were reciting this sloka and one more sloka. So by hearing this, like Shukadeva Goswami became attracted, and he became attracted, and he came back home, to like he was a liberated person. He was not attached to anything. No, he was not attached to anything material. Nothing material could actually attract him. But then, no, Bhagavatam attracted him. So that is this one in the first canto of Bhagavatam. We see this sloka. What is that? Anyone remember that sloka we discussed about? Even the Bhagavatam is attractive even to the liberated souls.
Actually, I only remember the beginning. Baraha Pidam Natar
No, not that. Atma Ramascha Munaya Nirgante api urukrama kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim uttam bhuta guno harihi. So Atma Ramascha Munaya, like even the Atma Ramas, even the persons, Atma Ram means like he doesn't require anything external to satisfy himself. No, he is satisfied from deep within. No, the liberated souls, no, they are called as Atma Rama. So Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgante api urukrama kurvanti ahaitukim bhakti ittam bhuta guno harihi. So the Supreme Lord's narrations and Supreme Lord's devotional service, they attract even the liberated souls. No, why it is specifically mentioned, even the liberated souls? Because they don't have any attraction to anything in this material world. But such people get attracted to the Supreme Lord. So this particular sloka was, when it was recited, Sukadeva Goswami was attracted, and he was feeling that, no, I am a liberated soul. I was promised that I'll not be attracted by anything material. But what is this stuff which is attracting me? So then he just went back and he inquired, what is it? So then the disciples of Vyasadeva told, okay, get back home. Your father will teach you more. So in that way, no, he was brought back home. Right. So it is very amazing sloka it is. Right. So let's recite this. अहोबकीयं स्तनकालकूटं जिघांसया जिघांसयापाय यदप्यसाध्वी लेभे गतिं दात्रि उचितां ततोऽन्यं कं वा दयालुं शरणं व्रजेम. Okay. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she demon, Putana, although she was unfaithful, and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Purport. Here is an example of the extreme mercy of the Lord, even to his enemy. It is said that a noble man accepts the good qualities of a person of doubtful character, just as one accepts nectar from a stalk of poison. Another example that could be given is to pick up gold from garbage, right? So that way, here we see the specific quality of the Supreme Lord. The specific quality of Supreme Lord is that he is not looking whether somebody is an enemy or a friend. No, that is all the material calculation. In fact, that is, I think sometimes we had discussed that particular point in our discussions. No, Parikshit Maharaj also asked this question in the beginning of 7th canto, that till now, whatever I have heard, I am always seeing that the Lord is taking the sides of the Devatas, and he is becoming the enemy of the demons, and he is killing them. Now, why is the Lord getting into the business of friendship and enmity? Why is he getting into the politics of good and bad, and favorable, unfavorable, and things like that? So he should be transcendental to all these things. He should be beyond all these things. He should be equal to all of them. So why is he getting into friendship and enmity and things like that? So that is when Shukadeva Goswami starts speaking about this particular aspect of Lord being completely neutral, right? So, but then he is very merciful towards his devotees, because he wants to purify everyone, and the devotees of the Lord, they are agreeing to become purified, and they are agreeing to cooperate with the Lord. Obviously, the Lord is little inclined towards them, but then the other people, when the Lord fights the enemies and then kills them, it is only for their betterment. So, and the example that is given is, whether you touch the fire lovingly or with hatred, the fire will burn. So in the same way, you approach the Lord, lovingly or with hatred or whatever may be the attitude. If you come in touch with the Lord, so that becomes a source of purification. That's a very amazing point that has been established. So in that way, we see that association with the Lord in any way, it is really amazing, because he is a person who's who's actually looking for good qualities in people and trying to appreciate it and trying to fan it up and things like that. So in that way, the Lord is an amazing person. So sometimes people have, I have even found some people who are trying to follow Krishna consciousness getting into depression. And one time I met one person like that, and I asked, why are you depressed? So I'm afraid, so many things I do wrong, and I'm afraid Lord is going to punish me. So, and he's going to punish me, and he may be keeping a note of all these things. So then I was just contemplating, is the Lord such a personality, who's eager to punish everyone? So actually, in fact, the Lord's merciful nature is much, much, much more higher or bigger than the Lord's punishing side. So Lord definitely punishes. Just like parents punish the children, but they will not punish the children to horrify them. They will just punish the children to get them back in the position. But then their base relationship is one of love and affection and things like that. So in the same way, the Lord also, he loves the living entity so much And out of love, sometimes he punishes them. No, and it is not out of no hatred or envy towards the living entities and things like that, or no some kind of no deadly kind of this one. So this is more of affectionate dealing. The Lord has an affectionate dealing towards the living entities. So when the Lord is affectionate, naturally he looks for some opportunity to uplift the living entity. Now there is two ways. If there is a competition, and if the judge is judging the competition, so there is two kinds of judges are possible. So one judge is seeing that how I can actually make this person win, and another kind of judge is like, no, how I can find some fault and pull this person down, right? So two kinds of judges we can see, and Lord is the first kind, where he is actively seeing like how I can uplift this person, and he's not so much in the mood of like how I can put him down. So that is not the mood of the Lord, right? So in that way, we can see that the Lord is really looking for the good in the people, eagerly looking for the good in the people. So one, like three kinds of, now two ways we discussed, even we can expand it to three ways of observation. One is, okay, no, you have done everything well, and then there is some mistakes, small mistakes are there, and the judge is saying that, okay, you have got some mistakes, and no, like you have to pay for it, or you have to suffer for it, and things like that. And then the next kind of judge is somebody, okay, like, no, you did something good, that's fair, like how much ever you have did good, you take the credit for it, and then how much ever you have did bad, no, you suffer for it. And the third category is, no, you have did a lot of mistakes, but then some good things you have done, and the judge is looking for, is there anything good at all is there in you? No, I just want to find it out and reward you, for that. So the Lord is that kind of a person who's actually looking for some good in us, at least. So that is what is the hope giving and very like kind of encouraging kind of this one. So we are kind of trying to become devotees of that Lord, who is really very merciful towards the living entities, right? So here it is mentioned, in his babyhood he was administered deadly poison by Putana, a she demon, who tried to kill the wonderful baby. And because she was a demon, it was impossible for her to know the Supreme Lord. Know that the Supreme Lord, even though playing the part of a baby, was no less than the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. His value as the Supreme Lord did not diminish upon his becoming a baby to please his devotee Yashoda. The Lord may assume the form of a baby or a shape other than that of a human being, but it doesn't make the slightest difference. He is always the same Supreme. A living creature, however powerful he may become by the dint of severe penance, can never become equal to the Supreme Lord. So here we see that now this is the way the demons actually calculate. So in fact, when Kamsa was like doing this prosecutions of the babies of Vasudeva and Devaki, and then when this baby was exchanged, and then somehow he got to know, by the way of information, he got to know that his like, yeah, the girl baby, when he was trying to kill, so she told that no, she actually took the root form of a Durga Devi, and she informed Kamsa, no, why are you trying to kill all these innocent babies? No, the baby that is going to kill you has already born somewhere else. So then Kamsa starts feeling very bad and things like that and all. So but then his ministers and other demoniac people, they come together and they say that now your enemy is a small baby, it is easy to handle. Now once he becomes big, it will become difficult to handle him. So now it is better to kill now, right? So but here it is mentioned, no, Lord be a baby, or he takes the form other than the human forms, like Varaha Rupa or Narsimha Rupa and things like that. So he is no less than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, Hiranyaksha, he was making fun of the Lord, saying that, oh, you are so fearful of me and you have taken the form of a Varaha Rupa. No, you've taken the form of a pig and you have come in front of me, and things like that. So it is like demons will never understand the Supreme Lord's form is completely transcendental to all material things, and he is always the Supreme Lord. No, he is not, just because he is accepting the form of a baby, he is not going to become weaker in that particular form. So he has to grow up to show his energy. So he can show his energy anytime, right? So, and then Lord Krishna accepted the motherhood of Putana because she pretended to be an affectionate mother, allowing Krishna to suck her breast. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards him the highest reward. This is the standard of his character. Therefore, who but the Lord can be the ultimate shelter? Right? So all of us are trying to take shelter of someone or somebody, right? So we take shelter of our physical capacity, and then this physical capacity can dwindle over a period of time. No, that cannot be a very good shelter. And our financial capacity. So today, somewhere we were hearing about this when the India-Pakistan partition happened. So at that time, like many people were shifting. No, people overnight became paupers. No, they become like overnight they lost all their wealth, and many times economic crisis and things like that come, or some economic mismanagement, financial mismanagement, so or miscalculation. Sometimes people become paupers. So finance and money cannot become the ultimate shelter. No, it can anytime leave. In fact, the money is called as Lakshmi, and Lakshmi's another name is Chanchala. She doesn't stay with anybody so long. No, so the Lord's name is Chanchalapati because Lakshmi stays only with the Lord, and all other places she just goes for some time and then she vacates the place. She doesn't stay anywhere for a longer period of time. So that's this one of the Lakshmi ji, and now we see that no, this Lakshmi is a Chanchala and she doesn't stay in any place. So no, it is not very good to take shelter of no Lakshmi. And we see that no many other factors. Insurance company can go for toss, and doctors. No, there are many cases where doctors could not able to help, the patient had to die, and so many different shelters that we can actually think of in this world, who can actually offer some protection, some solace, and things like that. But none of them can be ultimate shelter. And here, the qualities of the Lord we are studying, just to develop faith and affection and love and affection and attraction towards the Lord, how great a personality He is. And we should take shelter of Him. And we should encourage everyone to take shelter of such wonderful personality, right? Now, let's see next sloka, text 24. Manye Suran Bhagavatam Straya Dishe Sambramba Marga Binivishta Chittan Ye Samyug Chakshata Drakshaputram Amse Sunabhyadam Amse Sunabhayudam Apatantam. Okay. I consider the demons who are inimical towards the Lord to be more than the devotees, because while fighting with the Lord, absorbed in thoughts of enmity, they are able to see the Lord carried on the shoulder of Garuda, the son of Tarksha, no, that is Kashyapa, and carrying the wheel weapon in his hand. So, all the species of life, most of the species of life have come from Kashyapa Muni. Kashyapa Muni is one. From one of the wives, he got all these birds, and like Garuda is the chief amongst them, and the snakes have come from this one. So many different families the Kashyapa has, like all different varieties of living entities have come from him. So, anyways, like Garuda is the son of Kashyapa, and he is the celebrated carrier of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And it is one thing it is appreciated even in the battle of Kurukshetra is that more fortunate than Arjuna is Bhishma. Why? Because Bhishma, when he was fighting with the Lord, he was seeing the Lord face to face. But Arjuna could able to see only the back of the Lord. So it was like all the other soldiers who died in the battlefield. So they could able to see Krishna directly face to face, but his devotee Arjuna, he was in the back, so he couldn't able to see Krishna in that form as chariot driver. So, but then here we can see that this is one of the mood of the devotee. So the devotee is in a very amazing position, but then he's seeing even the demons are much better than him. The demons enjoy much better absorption while fighting with the Lord and while maintaining enmity. So they are absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord. I am being a devotee of the Lord. I am not able to be absorbed, no, so much in the thoughts of the Lord. So a devotee is thinking in that way, right? Let's see the purport. The Asuras who fought against the Lord face to face got salvation due to their being killed by the Lord. This salvation of the demons is not due to their being devotees of the Lord. It is because the Lord's causeless mercy. Anyone who is slightly in touch with the Lord, somehow or other, is greatly benefited, even to the point of salvation. So whenever we come across this word salvation, we should understand this is the pointing towards mukti. Mukti means it is just talking about getting out of this material world. It is not talking about the entrance into the spiritual world, right? So they get benefit of getting out of material miseries and going to the Brahman platform. So that is what is aimed by all the yogis and jnanis, to get liberated from this material world. And the demons get it simply by fighting with the Lord, right? Okay. So he is so kind that he awards. No. Okay, this is the excellence of the Lord. This is no credit to the demons. The only credit to the demons is they maintained enmity towards the Lord. And no, for that, the Lord is actually giving them the position of getting free from all material pangs. Right? He is so kind that he awards salvation even to his enemies because they come in contact with him and are indirectly absorbed in him by their inimical thoughts. Actually, the demons can never be equal to the pure devotees. But Uddhava was thinking in that way because of his feeling of separation. He was thinking that at the last stage of his life, he might not be able to see Lord face to face, as did the demons. The fact is that the devotees who are always engaged in devotional service of the Lord in transcendental love are rewarded many hundreds and thousands of times more than the demons by being elevated to the spiritual planets, where they remain with the Lord in eternal blissful existence. The demons and impersonalists are awarded the facility of merging in the Brahma Jyoti effulgence of the Lord, whereas the devotees are admitted into the spiritual planets. So this is the impersonalists. So they are also getting the same position as the demons. No, it's not a very good position that they are getting. So what is offered to the demons is offered to the impersonalists. Hmm. And for comparison, one can just imagine the difference between floating in space and residing in one of the planets in the sky. The pleasure of the living entity on the planets is greater than that of those who have no body and who merge with the molecules of the sun rays. No? So this is like Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is a huge rays, white light that is there beyond the material creation. And in this Brahma Jyoti, the people who are getting salvation, they'll just become a molecule in that. No, they'll just float in the Brahma Jyoti. No, that's what is salvation or mukti. No, so which generally the jnanis and yogis are aspiring for, and that position is easily given to the demons. And it is for a person who's struggling in the material world, oh, this may be a relief. But then after some time, it will be boring. Like, no, what will I do floating in this one for eternity? No, I'm just floating, not doing nothing. So then they come down to do some social service and do some philanthropic activities and things like that. No, aruhya takshena param padam tata patanti ada anadrita ishmadangare. Because they don't take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, so they fall down again into the material world and they try to do some good work for the people. The impersonalists, therefore, are no more favored than the enemies of the Lord. Rather, they are both on the same level of spiritual salvation. 625. Vasudevasya devakyam jata bhojendra bandhane chikirshor bhagavan asyaha sham ane ajena diyachitaha. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, being prayed to by Brahma to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudeva in the womb of his wife Devaki in the prison of the king of Bhoja. Voice is my voice okay? Somebody is getting lower voice. Is it okay now?
For me, it's okay, Prabhu.
Okay, na? ठीक है, right. Okay, purport. Although there is no difference between the Lord's pastimes of appearance and disappearance, the devotees of the Lord do not generally discuss the subject matter of his disappearance. Vidura inquired indirectly from Uddhava about the incident of the Lord's disappearance by asking him to relate Krishna Katha or topic on the history of Lord Krishna. Thus, Uddhava began the topics from the very beginning of his appearance as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison of Kamsa, the king of Bhojas at Mathura. The Lord has no business in this world, but when he is so requested by devotees like Brahma, he descends to earth for the welfare of the entire universe. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Okay. So the Lord, he comes, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. So in this various places, we actually see that the Lord doesn't have any business to do in this material world, but still he comes just as a matter of, being requested by his devotees and for the welfare of the people. He doesn't have anything personally to achieve in these things, right? Text 26, Tato Nanda Brajam itah पित्रा कंसात् विविध्यथा एकादश समास्तत्र गूढार्चिः स बलो वसत्. Thereafter, his father, being afraid of Kamsa, brought him to the cow pastures of Maharaj Nanda, and there he lived for 11 years like a covered flame with his elder brother Baladev. So now, is it that Vidura was not knowing all these things? So, and Uddhava is speaking it for the information of Vidura. It's not like that. So they all knew about Krishna very much. In fact, they are his family members. And Vidura is also like very, very intimate relation, and Uddhava is also very intimate relation. So they know it very well. And even before Krishna killed Kamsa, this news was going around, and because these are all well-wishers of Krishna and devotees of Krishna. They knew about Krishna much before, and even after that, one whole lifetime they spent with Krishna. And now when Krishna has departed, now they are discussing about Krishna, and they are discussing about the beginning leelas and all these things. So in the material world, people doesn't like to hear the same information again and again. One movie that is released will not go for long. After few times people will watch and it will die down. But here we see the people who lived with Krishna, and they are speaking about him again and again. And that too, all the various leelas of the Lord is being recited again and again. And it is mentioned, it is Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Every time we recite these narrations about the Lord, it is so attractive and so wonderful, and it is non-different from the Supreme Lord himself. So it is really very attractive actually. And that's why the devotees keep repeating these things. Matchitta madkata prana bodhayantascha parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that, so matchitta madkata prana. So they are like always they are thinking about me, and they're always discussing about me. And in that way, like bodhayantascha parasparam. So they speak about me with one another. And then in this way, they are tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So they are very much nourished, and they are very happy and blissful deep within, because they always discuss about the topics about myself. That's what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Purport. There was no necessity of lords being dispatched to the house of Nanda Maharaj out of fear of Kamsa's determination to kill him as soon as he appeared. It is the business of the Asuras to try to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or to prove by all means that there is no God, or that Krishna is an ordinary human being and not God. So this is also ways of killing. Prabhupada mentions in the beginning, or in the preface to Bhagavad Gita, where he says that the unauthorized scholars who have commented upon the Bhagavad Gita, so they are literally trying to kill Krishna. They are actually asuras. Though they have written commentary on Bhagavad Gita, they are asuras. Why they are asuras? Because while writing commentary, they are trying to kill Krishna. They are trying to avoid Krishna. They are trying to say that, oh no, Krishna is just an ordinary person, or Krishna is just an imaginary figure, and things like that and all. So that is kind of trying to kill Krishna philosophically, or trying to kill Krishna by the way of writing a commentary. And such demons, they may pass on as a great devotees or great people because they speak on Bhagavad Gita, they write commentary on Bhagavad Gita, but they don't have anything to do with the will of Krishna, right? So that is why they are called as demons. And here also we see that it is the business of the asuras. No, they always try to kill Krishna. They always try to banish Krishna in some way or other. So Lord Krishna is not affected by such determination of men of Kamsa's class. But in order to play the role of a child, he agreed to be carried by his father to the cow pastures of Nanda Maharaj because Vasudev was afraid of Kamsa. Nanda Maharaj was due to receive him as his child, and Yashoda Maya was also to enjoy the childhood pastimes of Lord, and therefore to fulfill everyone's desire, he was carried from Mathura to Vrindavan just after his appearance in the prison house of Kamsa. So now we see that the Lord's arrangement, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, so they are much greater a devotee than Vasudeva and Devaki, and they are supposed to enjoy the childhood pastimes of Krishna. And childhood pastimes of Krishna are the most intimate and most sweet and most relishable kind of pastimes. And that is awarded, that good fortune, great fortune is awarded to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya. And Krishna was carried for that reason also. So here, Vasudeva is afraid, and there Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya are supposed to get Krishna as their child. So then all this, everything tallies, and then the whole Leela actually happens. So Lord performs so many things. He achieves so many things by one activity. Then he lived there for 11 years and completed all his fascinating pastimes of childhood, boyhood, and adolescence with his elder brother Lord Baladev, his first expansion. Vasudev's thought of protecting Krishna from the wrath of Kamsa is part of a transcendental relationship. The Lord enjoys more when someone takes him as a subordinate son who needs the protection of a father than he does when someone accepts him as the Supreme Lord. Right? So this is a very amazing point. So many people go to the Lord saying, "Oh, you are the maintainer and protector of everyone. So please give me this, please give me that." So Lord is okay kind of thing. Sometimes this joke is also mentioned that so why does the Lord in the South India, we see that many places the Lord is actually in the Ananta Shayana, he's sleeping. So because when Yashoda Maya, she used to engage some Brahmanas to chant the Vedic hymns, and Krishna would go to sleep. So whenever he hears this, Krishna would go to sleep. And then Yashoda Maya used to engage the Brahmanas to chant these Vedic hymns for the good health and for the auspiciousness of her baby. So, but then whenever Krishna would hear the Vedic hymns, he will go to sleep. And whenever the Vrajavasis, they would come and they would play with Krishna and they would chant the Krishna's name. Krishna would get up, he would dance, he would be active with them and things like that. So when the dear devotees of the Lord, when they speak with Krishna, for Krishna it is more sweeter than the Vedic hymns. When the Vedic hymns is chanted, he goes to sleep. But then when his dear devotees come and have nice dealings with him, he becomes very active and he starts reciprocating with them. Right? So this official prayer, actually the Lord is okay, fine. So many people are offering me official prayer. It's okay. But then if somebody develops love and affection towards Lord, he also becomes very much interested in such person, right? So the official prayer and official petition and things like that, it's kind of too many. He keeps getting too many of them, and then he's like quite impersonal towards that. Okay, so here again we'll read this statement. It's a nice statement. The Lord enjoys more when someone takes him as his subordinate son who needs protection of a father, than he does when someone accepts him as the Supreme Lord, right? So he is the father of everyone and he protects everyone. But when his devotee takes it for granted that the Lord is to be protected by the devotee's care, it is a transcendental joy for the Lord. Thus, when Vasudeva, out of fear of Kamsa, carried him to Vrindavan, the Lord enjoyed it. Otherwise, he had no fear from Kamsa or anyone else. No, he is just accepting the service of Vasudeva, and Vasudeva is trying to protect Krishna and trying to do some service to Krishna in that way. and Krishna is enjoying that service. No, though there is no fear when Krishna is there, no, but still his devotee is thinking, oh, this is just a small baby, and no, he is my boy, and I have to protect him, and things like that. So this is different from a demon's thinking. Oh, though he's Supreme Lord, he is very small, so I can handle him. So that is demon's thought process. But a devotee's thought process is, yes, Lord can do anything and everything, but now he is my child, and I have to take care of him. No, that affection for the Lord, the affection for the Lord in the mood of a parent, no, Vatsalya Bhava, it overpowers their no understanding of the Lord as a supreme Lord, and no, they out of their love they just want to protect Krishna, right? So that's the mood that they have. And then text 27, Parito Vatsa Vatsam Charayan Vyaharad Vibhu Yamuno Pavane Kunjad Yamuno Pavane Kujad Dvija Sankuli Tangripe. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of Yamuna River through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Purport. Nanda Maharaj was a landholder for King Kamsa, but because by caste he was a Vaishya, a member of mercantile and agriculture community, he maintained thousands of cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cows, just as the Kshatriyas are to give protection to the human beings. Because the Lord was a child, he was put in charge of the calves with his cowherd boyfriends. The cowherd boys were great rishis and yogis in their previous births, and after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord and could play with him on equal terms. Right. So this Sukadeva Goswami actually mentions at one point, saying that that Krita Punya Punjaha. So that is like after accumulating volumes of punya, volumes of pious activities, volumes of pious results. So these people, these boys who are acting like the boyfriends of Krishna. So they are playing with Krishna, they are eating with Krishna, and they are just like a ordinary village boys. But then they're not just ordinary village boys. No, they were great rishis and yogis in their previous births. And after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord, and they could able to play with him on equal terms. Right? Such cowherd boys never cared to know who Krishna was, but they played with him as a most intimate and lovable friend. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. Sometimes, the Vrindavan Leela, it goes like this. The boys would like get up in the night, and he would come to the home of Krishna, and they would knock the door, and Yashoda Maya will come and ask, like, no, what happened? No, it's early morning, like, no, wake up Krishna, and like, no, we should go for pasturing grounds and things like that. And Yashoda Maya will say, like, no, it is not time. It is still like, no, it's just the night has fallen, and still long time is there for the morning. No, you people go and sleep. So like that, she'll send them back. So they'll keep coming again and again and knocking the door like that. So they would always be in the thought of the Lord, and suddenly they will think, oh, it is already morning now, we have to go out with Krishna. So they'll come with so much of eagerness to meet the Lord, actually. So it literally everyone in Vrindavan is like that. So it is not that people were leading a normal life over there. They couldn't able to sleep. They couldn't able to do any ordinary work just like that. So they were always Krishna conscious. They were always thinking of Krishna. That's the holy land of Vrindavan. Right? So the forest on the shore of Yamuna are all beautiful gardens full of trees of mango, jackfruit, apples, guava, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, and so many other plants and fragrant flowers. And because the forest was on the bank of Yamuna, naturally there were ducks, cranes, and peacocks on the branches of the trees. All these trees and birds and beasts were pious living entities born in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan just to give pleasure to the Lord and his eternal associates, the cowherd boys. While playing like a small child with his associates, the Lord killed many demons, including Agasur, Bakasur, Pralambasur, and mm, Gar, Gardabasur. Gardabasur. Okay. Although he appeared at Vrindavan just as a boy, he was actually like the covered flames of a fire. As a small particle of fire can kindle a great fire with fuel, so the Lord killed all these great demons beginning from his babyhood in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The land of Vrindavan, the Lord's childhood playground, still remains today, and anyone who visits these places enjoys the same transcendental bliss, although the Lord is not physically visible through our imperfect eyes. Lord Chaitanya recommended this land of the Lord as identical with the Lord and therefore worshipable by the devotees. Right. So this is Aradhya Bhagavan Rajesha Tanaya Staddama Vrindavanam. So it is this Vrindavan is also equal in that sense, equally worshipable for the devotees of the Lord. So that is also as good as the Supreme Lord. This instruction is taken up especially by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, known as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And because the land is identical with the Lord, devotees like Uddhava and Vidura visited these places 5,000 years ago in order to have direct connect with the Lord, visible or not visible. Thousands of devotees of the Lord are still wandering in these sacred places of Vrindavan, and all of them are preparing themselves to go back home, back to Godhead. Text 28. Kaumarim darshayams cheshtam prekshaniyam vrajaukasham rudan iva hasan mukta balasimhavalokanaha. When the Lord displayed his activities just suitable for childhood, he was visible only to the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes he would cry and laugh, sometimes laugh just like a child, and while doing so, he would appear like a lion cub. Balasimha. So it is purport. If anyone wants to enjoy the childhood pastimes of the Lord, then he has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vraja, like Nanda, Upananda, and other parental inhabitants. A child may insist on having something and cry like anything to get it, disturbing the whole neighborhood. And then immediately after achieving the desired thing, he laughs. Such crying and laughing is enjoyable to the parents and elderly members of the family. So the Lord would simultaneously cry and laugh in this way and merge his devotee parents in the humor of transcendental pleasure. These incidents are enjoyable only by the residents of Vraja, like Nanda Maharaj, and not by the impersonalist worshippers of Brahman or Paramatma. Sometimes, when attacked in the forest by demons, Krishna would appear struck with wonder, but he looked on them like the cub of a lion and killed them. His childhood companions would also be struck with wonder, and when they came back home, they would narrate the story to their parents, and everyone would appreciate the qualities of their Krishna. Child Krishna did not belong only to his parents Nanda and Yashoda. He was the son of all elderly inhabitants of Vrindavan and the friend of all contemporary boys and girls. Everyone loved Krishna. He was the life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows, and the calves. Right. Text 29. Sayeva Godanam Lakshmya Niketam Sita Govrusham Charayan Anugan Gopan Ranad Venur Ariramat. While herding the very beautiful bulls, the Lord, who was the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus he enlivened his faithful followers, the cowherd boys. Purport. As he grew to 6 and 7 years old, the Lord was given charge of looking after the cows and bulls in the grazing grounds. He was the son of a well-to-do landholder who owned hundreds and thousands of cows, and according to Vedic economics, one is considered to be a rich man by the strength of his store of grains and cows. With only these two things, cows and grains, humanity can solve its eating problem. Human society needs only sufficient grains and sufficient cows to solve its economic problems. All other things but these two are artificial necessities created by man to kill his valuable life at human level and waste his time in things which are not needed. Lord Krishna, as the teacher of human society, personally showed by his acts that the mercantile community or the Vaishyas should herd cows and bulls and thus give protection to the valuable animals. According to the Smriti regulation, the cow is the mother and the bull is the father of the human being. The cow is the mother because just as one sucks the breast of one's mother, the human society takes cow's milk. Similarly, the bull is the father of human society because the father earns for the children, just as the bull tills the ground to produce food grains. Human society will kill its spirit of life by killing the father and the mother. It is mentioned herein that the beautiful cows and the bulls were of various checkered colors, red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc. And because of their colors and healthy smiling features, the atmosphere was enlivening. Over and above all, the Lord used to play his celebrated flute. The sound vibrated by his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the tasks of Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalist. That means the happiness achieved in the level of impersonal Brahman realization. So these boys are directly having the Bhagavan realization, directly having the Supreme Lord amongst them. Right? These cohort boys, as will be explained by Shukadev Goswami, were living entities who had accumulated heaps of pious acts and thus were enjoying with the Lord in person and were hearing his transcendental flute. The Brahma Samhita 530 confirms the Lord's blowing his transcendental flute. Venum panantam aravinda dalayatакшాం barhavatam samasithambuda sundarangam kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma said, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who plays on his transcendental flute. His eyes are like lotus flowers. He is decorated with peacock plumes, and his bodily color resembles a fresh black cloud, although his bodily features are more beautiful than millions of cupids. Okay, these are the special features of the Lord. Okay, so we will kind of stop for today here, right?